and a lot more safety for the Varus.
G2 right now, they're just looking for a little bit more engage, and there was that Rell that we were talking about. Not only is it a huge comfort pick for Labrov, but it synergizes nicely with the composition. And G2 gone for a very traditional front-to-back style of composition, whereas Top Esports have a little bit more dive. Ambessa, Wukong, Akali, as you were talking about, so much backline threat. To me, you look at this draft and I'm thinking, Caps, they put a target on your head and they're looking to take you out of this game.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen this kind of strategy a lot at Worlds. It's been Orianna, super premier pick, and then enemy teams trying to punish the weakness of Ori, having no flash, having no dash. If you're unable to do that, though, and we've seen a lot of like tanky Orianna builds as well, be able to survive it, you can outplay some of these dive comps. This looks very good for TES, though, I have to say. And Lethality Varus has actually had a lot of success despite the nerfs that were laid onto it, so very well could be the option here.
And the two big questions coming into this series were the level of TES. Would we see the best of their players? We're going to have to wait to find the answer to that one. But also the creativity of G2. And in Game 1, we're not really seeing that creativity. It's safe, it's standard, you know why they're picking it, but they're not leveraging the same innovative picks that they have in the past, which means they're going to need to beat Top Esports at a very honest, straight up, pretty classic draft.
And honestly, in Fearless, in this new world that we have with best of fives having more time, I think even if you are a creative team, you are incentivized in game number 1 to not pick creatively so that you can fearlessly ban out a lot of these power picks, and they will still have plenty of time in this series to show that. And I definitely look forward to it.
It's time. Game 1, Top Esports versus G2. One of 2 remaining LPL teams in the tournament up against the last LEC team.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Oh, the passion in this stadium. You can feel it with the crowd.
I feel like there's a decent amount of G2 support in the arena as well, but the home crowd favorites definitely coming in for Top Esports as early game. G2 fishing for a little bit of information. Kanavi going to be looking to do the exact same thing on the top side of the map. Ward going to be dropped from Creme, which will naturally be spotted out as 369. Goes for a bit of a trade onto BrokenBlade, but nothing too crazy for the time being. Look at the ward placement that we're getting from Labrov on the bottom lane here. I wonder if this is anticipation of any potential swaps. They've got the ping down onto Varus. They know he's on the bot side. Hansama and Labrov threatening a pick.
Need to be careful.
They see both.
Braum level 1 is quite powerful. It looks like they're just going to settle for a bit of poke. Not quite traded back. Winner's Bite will hit, but the piercing arrow goes a tiny bit wide, so neither side getting a greater advantage here. Important to know JackeyLove does have the teleport to Hansama's cleanse.
And you can tell TES actually read that because of the way this level 1 was played and the Corki Q coming straight out of the tri-brush there. They immediately spammed that ward with a bunch of blue pings, knowing that they had vision of the Varus, and that's how you got that little chunk. So they are looking at these trinket ward timers for bottom lane. It's one of the really intricate parts of the early game, especially important for super good early game junglers, is tracking all of these trinket ward timers and seeing when and where you can actually find a hole to gank one of these lanes.
Congratulations as well over to Caps, 200 international games. Second player to accomplish it. That does surprise me.
It surprises me as well, I'm going to be honest.
I wasn't expecting him to be the second, but what a tenured career. He's considered the GOAT of Europe for a reason. As Kanavi
Honestly,
sets
you
his
get
sights.
all the West, you get us too.
Well, we might have just cursed it. As Creme has already flashed forward a 5-point strike, getting a flash back out of Caps. And gentlemen, you said it in draft. How does the Orianna survive without flash? Well, we're going to find out.
And that is so much value. I mean, Wukong just passing from bottom side camps up to top side camps. This champ doesn't even bring CC early on into the game, but gets a flash out of the Orianna. Really efficient, use there. Of course, yes, Akali did flash as well, but Akali has so much more safety than Orianna. That's why it's kind of highlighted.
Absolutely does. And this Orianna, a matchup that typically has so much lane pressure, now has to just be a little bit more hesitant to exert that pressure in the matchup. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, JackeyLove and Hung had some really nice trades, forcing Hansama back very early. He will grab his tier, but you can already start to see a little bit of a lead starting to build in JackeyLove's favor. And on the top side of the map, 369 getting some good trades of his own. So kind of across the board, TES finding advantages.
And this is what the desk highlighted, right? The fear that TES might be able to run G2 over in the early game. Now, they're not gone yet, but again, when we look at the historical head-to-head, when we look at MSI specifically, G2 were in the driver's seat for almost all of those early games. Today, a very different story.
And we'll see how things develop as Top Esports now threatening a dive into top lane.
BrokenBlade waiting. Pathmaker going to be an important ability here. Nice bit of footwork for extra shielding. Really taking his time. 369 might be happy with just getting the plate. Kanavi has already backed away. Doesn't want to overcommit.
This is very reminiscent of their first game of this tournament. We saw Top Esports with great pressure in the early game. Kanavi set his sights onto BrokenBlade, and while he was working with his bot lane in that previous game, right now he's working with 369 to cover and threaten a dive. Top Esports already building up a very small but early gold lead.
Yeah, plus when you go position for a top lane dive like that, you can leave wards behind. And they are going to have full information on the reclears. Both junglers, though, of course, know the respawn orientation of the opponent's camps. So both of them will just do Krugs through reclears and end up on opposite sides once again.
It's a great call, though, because you can see JackeyLove is permanently pushed up on the bottom side. Had the power of the TP, had the favorable 2v2, and the second that he sees SkewMond, he knows he can stick around. He can play as far forward as he wants to. Meanwhile, on the top side, BrokenBlade does TP back to lane with the Chain Vest. Loses a little bit in the process, but not hurting too much. Still, a 300 gold lead this early may be tough to contend with. Of course, he's still catching waves, so it'll likely even out a bit.
And we have a little bit of the support roam timer there for Labrov around mid lane, trying to get some extra safety. Again, make it easier for Caps to use that early laning prowess of Orianna. And Kanavi is going to take the opportunity after just his bottom side camps to quickly start up the Dragon with their bot side push.
JackeyLove is just getting the better of Hansama in this bot lane 2 versus 2. Remember, an early base comes through from Hansama. JackeyLove goes for a bunch of fights, then he goes back and he TPs early, coming back to lane, and he keeps up the pressure. He's built up a very nice lead in the bot lane 2 versus 2, and the pressure he has resulted in...
BrokenBlade, nice timing on the level 6. Debating if he wants to commit further. Does use the all-out, but Pathmaker just going to use it to escape. Now needs to push this wave in, because once 369 takes over, he can just turn this right back around.
Yep, ultimate 4 flash here, trade to try and set up the next play. Again, looking at the junglers to get their level 6s incoming as well. Since you do stop off for Dragon, and it takes quite a bit of time in the early game, Kanavi now still has to clear up his topside camps, whereas SkewMond has a little time to work with, and so he can get the bot side crab, and that might help out G2's bottom lane. Again, the poke Varus, the lane, very strong, and then looking to just add the execution, little bits of damage from the long range, and the way that these teamfights are going to go later for them, with all the divers that TES do have, if you just have a little bit of extra execution damage over the top, can make a world of a difference.
Definitely can. Now we turn our attention toward the mid lane. Kanavi still level 5. Looks like it will just be a reset, hovering in case there was a counter gank opportunity. We've crested the level 6 mark for both mid laners, and this is where Caps needs to be careful. The window on this flash being down is very small. TES may try to capitalize, but we know post level 6 is where Akali really starts to take over.
But ultimately, from Cream's perspective, the kind of battle has already been won, because in a lane that's supposed to be very oppressive, has now been much easier for him. Cream is dead even in terms of farm. He's not really lost any XP, and when a wave gets frozen like this underneath the tower, he feels confident to stead up because Caps can't be as aggressive as he would like to. So even if they don't convert it into a kill, Cream is very happy with how this early game has gone. And I imagine that soon he's going to be working towards that Hextech alternator, and that component is so valuable in the trade just because it gives you so much skirmishing power in the 1v1.
And across the board, TES really getting so much out of this early laning phase. The Braum into the Rell has been working out fantastically for them, resulting in these early objectives. Now we see the reset from G2, Hansama being assigned at the top side of the map. Eyes on the grub spawn, 12 seconds away. Neither side has complete control of the top lane, so it may be a little bit delayed, but clearly both teams aware of where they need to be.
Yeah, I mean, after the swap too, 369 looking very, very good up there. Yeah, he doesn't have flash, but pretty good CS lead for himself, resulting in one of the big discrepancies. BrokenBlade now going to pick up some of the bottom wave, but the grubs are up, and the junglers are ready to fight over them. Level 6s have been acquired. Teleport out for Rell as well does mean that we have the possibilities for contesting at least a couple of them.
One grub already down. Kanavi, though, uses his smite, so may opt to just back away. Caps has access to the TP shortly, but is slightly delayed. Cream also resetting. So it seems like neither side wants to full-on fist fight. Just hoping that they can move in, leverage their pressure, rather than needing to go all in.
G2 have to be very careful. Burst damage from Akali right now is huge. Akali plus Wukong.
Cream on the way in, Unbreakable coming in for Hong. SkewMond going a little bit wide, and Winds become Lightning, and G2 pulling back as a 4-stack. That's 1-to-1 in terms of overall grubs. TES will grab the 2 grub buff. G2 again didn't want to push their luck. Have to be so careful fighting into that Braum, fighting into that level 6 Wukong.
Yeah, and especially like, I feel like difference in mid laners when you're both coming back from base and then one of them, has a bunch of mana items and the other one has, Dark Seal and the alternator that we're talking about and has perfect execution available. Very, very scary as far as the immediate impact. Of course, Orianna scales really nicely.
Yeah.
But if you're going the scaling build with Rod of Ages as well as Seraphs, then have to cede a little bit of the early.
So our observer's just highlighting what's happening on the top side of the map, and I have so many concerns for Hansama. He just lost like half a wave, if not the whole wave, as he tried to contest that control wards, and he's also losing a bunch of farm off the back of it. He did swap to the top side where he also lost a bunch of farm, and we already talked about how JackeyLove has kind of been getting the better of him in the trades on the bot side of the map, but that is a full level difference. There is about 3 waves between the 2 of them, and JackeyLove has basically a kill of an advantage over his lane opponent. And remember, this lethality Varus will spike earlier than the Corki will. That Trinity Force will come online a little bit later than some of these early lethality items just because of their lower cost, which means the top esports, similar to what the desk was saying, should have that early game agency. Their one-item spikes are very scary, and G2 will have to play around that if they want to contest these other neutrals that will be spawning soon.
And I think the other big concern you have is when you look at the scaling threat of both junglers, you brought up the Trinity Force and the Wukong, we know Xin can be this highly impactful pick. And sure, JackeyLove is going to struggle when the Crescent Guard is up, but SkewMond hasn't been able to find a great angle to build advantages for these lanes. He has a small advantage for himself, but it did come at the cost of conceding that Drake. And now his lanes, they're not done yet, but they're looking like they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, I think both of these G2 carries have to be very cognizant of their positioning, approaching objectives. TES, if there's one angle approaching the team fight that is left in darkness, they could get a massive flank off and immediately delete one of these G2 carries. So have to be very, very cautious in how you're approaching and try and keep the threats in front.
Look at these lane assignments from top esports. They've got 369. Ooh, getting
Labrov,
engaged on.
Immediate ulti. Public execution not going to take 369 out to safety. The Ignite ticking down, but he's got more than enough shielding just to walk away. Ulti for ulti, but they get the flash from 369. Traded for Labrov's as TES. See an opportunity bot side. G2 stepping too far forward. Q flash from Hong goes completely wide, but it doesn't matter. The concussive blows connecting in the end, and it's first blood for JackeyLove.
G2 try to find a pick onto 369, but top esports convert it into a collapse of their own. I was just about to highlight how these lane assignments from top esports made it so easy for them to collapse on this dragon. G2 don't respect it, and it becomes a very easy first blood for top.
Yeah, I mean, there are double control wards here for TES through the Tri-Brush and through the Pixel Brush in River. And so they make the good call. Yeah, we'll just leave Dragon and get the kill instead, increasing the gold lead because they know they can still reset and then return to the objective.
G2, of course, see a window of opportunity where JackeyLove maybe didn't do his due diligence, but his teammates are still there to cover him as 369 goes all in on the mid lane. No public execution, so Caps is doing all right, but unfortunately for him, TES are rotating just a variety of people through that mid lane, and they're all getting pushed.
Yeah, that wasn't a public execution, but it was a public beating where he just beat like 400
He got flogged, yeah, that's rough.
That was some good punches there from 369. Chunks Caps down below 50% and earns the objective pretty effortlessly.
And it feels like a repeat of what we saw in the first game of Swiss. Top esports finding these early leads, G2 not really having many options to trade back elsewhere on the map, and top esports are playing with these advantages very, very well. They've accrued a 1k gold lead, they have full control over the early objectives. They're trying to make a play on a JackeyLove, but he's not afraid of anything.
Entering strike goes wide, but the ulti from Varus does not. Immediate TP in. Labrov about to get one shot. JackeyLove happy to have a second kill. Hung gonna make sure he donates. No, they donated to Cream, who contributed nothing, but will get all the cash.
I mean, I think honestly it's worth. You get your 2 stacks Dark Seal, and you get more money on this Akali that you want to have burst damage. So, good shot, Hung. I would give it a Cream too.
I mean, once he pressed TP, they were like, you came all this way.
Yeah.
We may as well give you a parting gift.
Exactly. Then he's more likely likely to come down to next time.
I
see?
just say I'm
Absolutely.
concerned for G2 when we're referring to their support as a party favor for the enemy mid lane.
Oh,
That is not an ideal situation to be in.
But Top Esports with full control over this early game right
Yeah.
now. And again, it really is just reminiscent of what we saw in their first matchup, especially when you look at the itemization. Going for Rod of Ages, tier Orianna means that you will not have damage for a while. G2 need to stem the bleeding as much as possible and wait for these team fights, but Top Esports, they won't let them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the slower impact that we were talking about. And now we're also seeing...
All in bottom lane. Shockwave looks like it interrupts the E2, the second half of the Shuriken Flipper. That could have been a kill, but still costs the flash and ultimate from Caps.
Yeah, just as we were saying from Champion Select here, as soon as you get Orianna in the side lane, and even honestly before that, Akali was very, very happy. Now we'll see the other side lane up here.
QUARTERFINALS here to cover, but Kanavi's finished Trinity Force. A lot of potential burst damage, even in the face of the Sundered Sky healing. BrokenBlade zoned away completely from this top lane tier 1, and 369 builds that individual lane advantage, and the rest of the team now coming home to reap the rewards. Caps and the rest of G2 want to cover. They do not want to concede this tower. Labrov ghosting in. Riding in on a steel horse, ulti available, no flash, but he might not need it. Hung gonna be sacrificed. TES sticking around a bit too long on the top side, and Caps happy to reap the rewards.
So all of the supports are the party favors that you were mentioning. Willing to donate the sacrifice, as you say, Kanavi.
Kanavi kicking things off with the Cyclone. Cream waiting behind. Still has access to the perfect execution. Excuse me. No, on cooldown from the previous play. Portabout also used, but the public execution taking out Labrov. And it's not just the mid laners taking the kills, the junglers as well.
Top Esports see two members of G2 walk up into the river and say, didn't you just use everything to kill our support? I guess that means that it's our turn. And so Top Esports immediately turn their attention to their opposition, pick up a support of their own as Labrov goes to 3 deaths.
It's 3-1, Betty. They've had too many turns. They're breaking preschool sharing rules, and I don't think this is going to look good for G2. But again, you said it. We've seen this game before. We saw it in that first match of Swiss. The early lane swap was a bit different, but this control, the advantages they built in lanes, transitioning it now into the Herald, TES dominating game 1. All in though, Caps! No time for redemption!
Cream, baby, back to his origins on the Akali, abusing Orianna. Beautiful stuff here from TES.
Truly a perfect execution there from Cream. He didn't even lose any of his HP. 100-0 Caps, no flash on the Orianna, and now the side lanes, I mean, just look at the minimap, fully in control for Top Esports.
Cream having a hell of a time here. BrokenBlade trying to move forward with the Pathmaker. But again, 2024, the one time we've seen a best of 5, Caps Tristana, 3 games, winning every single lane against Cream. Game 1 in 2025, completely different.
Yeah. TES say, fine, you can have the pick of the tournament, Orianna. We will craft a dive comp to try and abuse that fact. And because of that, Cap says, okay, I need to build more tanky because they have so much dive. But then that's going to push back your timeline on when you're going to have some damage threat as well. And TES making a very good use of the early stages of this game. Definitely something that people have said a lot about TES. Very good early games, very frequently.
Top Esports, they are a much more methodical team. They play the map very well. Having Kanavi as kind of your spearhead makes a lot of sense as to why that playstyle works. And again, we turn our attention to the minimap and look at the control that they have. Cream is not afraid of anything. There's nothing he needs to be afraid of anything. Like, no one on the side of G2 can kill him, so he can afford to overstep his bounds, but even if he can't, he's got a turret at his back. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, heavy vision investment, control over the bot wave, control over the mid. They have push everywhere. G2 is very much on the back foot.
Exactly, because it becomes so hard to play the maps, because G2, they have to keep Orianna safe with extra players, and so nobody can really handle all of the side lane pressure that TES can put out. TES, they can constantly push both side lanes, and G2, they have to group and force.
G2 ignoring topside, letting that wave be deleted because they know they need to defend mid lane. Rift Herald, Kanavi mounted up. Looking for a knock-up, unbreakable for a brief moment. Now moving into the backside, that's the Cyclone. SkewMond gets out the Crescent Guard to mitigate some of the damage, but he's still locked down by JackeyLove. Moving into the circle briefly as Hung does his best to body block. All in from G2. The public execution brings 369 right into G2's backline, and they start to fall. TES make it look effortless. Cream pulled back, the shockwave, Caps a moment. He turns it back for G2 and takes 2 in return.
Caps, he's popping off. The Orianna has arrived. The shockwave, Vedius, saves a bit of it for G2.
It's a little cliche, but the Shockwave did in fact find them all. He connected onto all 4 members to turn that fight around. Top Esports turned what was Kanavi getting caught into a team fight. I love the confidence from Top Esports to just say, screw it, we can fight this. Why are we afraid? SkewMond immediately has to disengage. Kanavi tries to get back into the Herald. BrokenBlade heavily commits, but then 369 finds his way onto Han Summer, takes out the AD carry. Creme does get exhausted, but you know that he's looking for another target. And then the combo from the Braum and Caps, a 4-man Shockwave. G2 finds something off the back of a disastrous team fight.
And Caps also forcing the Varus flash as JackeyLove was trying to run away there. Let's get back to live though, because after that fight,
Shockwave in just a few seconds. G2 know they have an angle to turn it. It's a brief window of opportunity. They managed to take away the Drake. Now they're keeping the fight going though. Excellent ulti again, catching out SkewMond. He's been locked down, he'll be sacrificed. TES get 1 on the exit kills, but G2 slow the soul stacking for TES.
yeah, I think TES should be able to get this game right back on track, but G2 have kind of interrupted that stacking.
TES still hanging around. Q3 from BrokenBlade. Pathmaker pulling him through as well. JackeyLove charging up the piercing arrow. Decent damage for BrokenBlade. The one target it doesn't hit. Caps on the other hand, happy to have all that extra gold after the last fight. The command attack really starting to hurt.
I think TES should get back to pushing on both side lanes and making it hard for G2 to control their income on the map. Because G2 have to be so much more careful when they're getting resources here, and TES can still apply that pressure.
The thing is, like, we talked about it very early on into the game, but this advantage that JackeyLove has over Han Summer is just monstrous. This Varus is so far ahead, and right now G2 don't really have any threat onto this long-range poke that JackeyLove brings to the fight.
And Otacon is on the map, so everybody looking towards the big objective, what has been the equalizer of so many games since its implementation in this season.
But this is the good news for G2, because as you highlighted, Cody, the spread out on the map is what G2 can't handle. Grouping up and fighting is what their composition wants. So if there's going to be a moment to turn this game in their favor, it'll be a fight around Otacon.
And in this moment, their carries have flashes while TES do not. Neither Creme nor Jackie have them.
Kanavi poking, fishing, maybe hoping to burn one of those flashes without committing too much. As TES desperately fight, they want control of this tri-brush. They do not want G2 to have easy access into the objective, but JackeyLove alone is solo zoning so many of the G2 members off this tower as Cream starting to poke. Hits the first half of the Shuriken flip. SkewMond thinks that's the angle though, and they start to turn it back. Shockwave though, only connecting on a Hung. Major cooldown missing now as the Redemption heals TES right back up.
With the Shockwave gone, I see this as a very difficult way for G2 to fight. Top Esports doing really good job at controlling this space. The poke from JackeyLove, the poke coming through from Creme, knowing that he has the assistance of Hong. They keep G2 at arm's length, but they don't yet start the objective. They want to get the tower, and this will go uncontested.
G2 losing more and more control over the bottom side. Passive control gone now that the tower's been deleted. Kanavi poking his head in. It's the blue buff picked up by TES. G2 again, we've seen it before. We saw it in Swiss. Getting bled out in this game by Top Esports. Cream stays on the bottom side. TES don't need to force. They don't need to start this if they don't want to.
I mean, look at the side lanes. Kobe was talking about it earlier. When Top Esports played the map, it's very difficult for G2 to deal with all of that pressure. Top lane just lost an entire wave. Mid lane is being pushed in by 369. Advantages are just passively being built by Top Esports. And remember, G2 won that fight in mid. They lowered the gold gap, but now it's ballooned back up to 3.8k.
TP to the bottom lane from BrokenBlade. He is there first. 369 has access to his, but he's putting pressure on the top side. G2 forcing the Otacon, recognizing a brief window of opportunity. They need to make this work.
369 is trying to buy first and then teleport in.
8K getting lower. Kanavi looking for the flank. G2 have no idea. They want to burn this down. They see the TP now. They realize they may have overstepped, but the Otacon's been leashed. TES won the fight. Double redemption, but they're grouping for the Cyclone. Crescent Guard denies it for a brief moment, but all of G2 have to run because once again, it is 369 and Creme back to back. The triple kill for the Akali. G2 are helpless in the face of this Top Esports die.
He's rolling all nines today. This Ambessa is insane. He's cutting them down. The teleport ward is perfectly placed, and G2 have been decimated.
Shepherded into a choke point. Top Esports collapse like wolves and tear G2 a Caps.
Caps wants to clear the wave, I guess. buys a brief moment with the Zanya to contemplate his failures because he will not get any kills.
He clears out the wave, but questionable play there as the Arakan is secured by Top Esports. A 7K gold lead, and just beautiful team fighting from this Top Esports squad. The fact that G2 had no recourse, no escape as they get picked apart.
Let's take a look at the setup. The ward is just perfect, and G2 all clumped up together. Kanavi coming down from the top side. SkewMond actually does do a good ultimate to knock Kanavi away, but it didn't matter because they got ripped apart anyways by the solo laners.
Creme played that beautifully, using SkewMond's flash, going over the wall to then get a multi-man execute. Very well played by him. The frustration on Dylan Falco's face and the elation from the Top Esports coaching staff.
You know how when Yagao said, 2 carries should never stand together? Well, if all 5 of you are standing together as well, then they all get executed.
That is included. One does include the other. It's a square rectangle sort of situation. G2 hopefully learning that lesson because they don't really have much more time in this game. 8,000 gold deficit. TES grabbing the 3rd Drake and Soul Point. G2 in no position to contest. But remember, that Otacon was built on an early game from TES that was so commanding, that was so confident. That was already a Hail Mary for G2. And frankly, at this point, Hail Marys are all they have left.
I mean, I've been super impressed with how JackeyLove has really gotten his revenge on Hans Sama after last year. Creme coming out with the comfort pick, and just, as you mentioned earlier, Kobe, Orianna Azir has kind of been the trade of the tournament, and Creme saying, you know what, no, I know Akali is good into this matchup. With the Wukong by my side, I know I can do some serious damage. 8-1-4 scoreline. He's been involved in 12 of the team's 13 kills.
And I think Caps' desperation to hold on to that tier 2, I don't think he's feeling good about it now because now he has this Seeker's Arm Guard and no money to complete the item as he's caught out once again. Called out on the sideline by TES. Labrov doing everything he can to stop the play from happening, and now BrokenBlade is here. Perhaps the backup that G2 needed to keep the fight going in this choke. Kanavi dashed to the side with a Nimbus Strike. All of TES backing away. They might have started the fight, but they can recognize a risk when they see one. 369 still fishing for backline access as Caps continues to try to clear the wave. Crashdown comes in from Labrov, but 369 just does not take any damage. Creme dashing back out. E2 coming through, ready to get the fight kicked off. It's the ulti from the Braum as G2 retreat to their top side tier 2. 369 hovering, ushering the wave forward. G2 battered, but not broken as TES dominate in their jungle.
Top Esports run this map, and G2 are barely given the luxury of standing on the rift. Top Esports take as many camps as they can. Labrov's base will be interrupted as Top Esports take full control through the mid lane. They secure themselves another tower. Everything going the way of TES.
They have remained calm this entire game. TES just progressing their game plan linearly over G2, and now all that is left is to go claim the Baron. They have very, very good turn off of Baron. We have seen it with Wukong and Ambessa. The turn is crazy threatening. 369 though, he's still out on the map.
2. Q flash coming in for the Shattering Strike. SkewMond gonna follow up. Public Execution gets a little bit of space for 369 as he flashes out. The Drake Hound step, but the Shockwave brings him right back. Hung on the way in to try to protect his top laner, blocking so much damage with the Unbreakable. And now it's Creme in the Shroud. 5 members. The Death Ball of G2 as Creme dashes right back out. And Kanavi goes in. TES diving, dodging, cutting through G2. And now it's BrokenBlade to try to turn it back. He's gone all out, but it might be too late. SkewMond staying living for a brief moment. Redemption now coming in. The extra healing from Thunder Sky will not do a damn thing. BrokenBlade down, an ace for TES.
Absolutely beautiful from Top Esports once again. Creme went in a little bit too eager. He was isolated from his team, but the moment that Kanavi finds the angle onto the backline, G2 just fall apart.
Yeah, this is one way to start a fight. Just keep on split pushing as the only one left applying pressure. 369 uses his ult, his flash, his dashes, still gets locked back in by the Shockwave, but by that time, he's already bought enough time for Hung to come up and provide the extra defense. Then Kanavi comes in, he gets the triple knockups into another knockup, immediately deleting Hans Sama, and the rest of G2, all they could do was actually take down their primary target, the original target of 369, but I think that might be the last target that they get to actually take down in this game.
And again, while it started okay, because they didn't immediately get deleted, JackeyLove got a 4-man ult in that fight, 3-man Cyclones. G2 can't afford to group, but they also can't afford to split up. There's no right option left.
They can't afford anything because they're 11,000 gold down.
Yep.
I mean, right now, G2 just need to be thinking about game 2 because this one feels done and dusted. Top Esports from start to finish have been in full control, reminiscent of what we saw at the beginning of the Swiss stage. Top Esports converted a strong early laning phase performance into great objective control, into just better team fighting. And while Caps did find a nice shockwave to at least give a little bit of hope back to the G2 squad, it was quickly snuffed out by Creme.
And remember, for both of these teams, there are questions about how they will respond to pressure. For now, Creme needs to worry about responding to the Xin, though, as he dodges through, managing to get away from the shockwave. Redemption going in. He will dash through with the perfect execution. Goes back in onto Caps. I don't think he needed to go back in.
Kanavi can...
That one wasn't it, but Caps gonna flash out. The exhaust is there. Wants to convert the kill back onto Caps. Labrov there trying to body block as best he can. Slow coming in from the Celestial opposition. Crucially, the piercing arrow from JackeyLove does not connect.
I mean, G2 found a pick at this point. A pick is the best thing that you can hope for this late into the game. It will slow down Top Esports a little bit as the rest of G2 are catching waves where they can, but that put about a 1k dent in the 10k gold lead.
Also, it did take some pages out of the Medjais that Creme had stacked, so you can call Worth if you want. Anyone?
I think it's Worth. I would say Worth.
In that situation in the game, that is Worth, because you
absolutely.
actually cut down on the pages. They're going to need a lot more.
Creme did get the Zanyas, though, so we'll have access to another stasis effect as Kanavi's just stepping forward to poke. Ulti from JackeyLove locking down BrokenBlade. It's a split fight. Kanavi still stepping forward, not hesitating to do so much work. Shockwave only connecting onto 369, but it just does not stop him!
Oh my god!
Passive procs left and right, running down G2 Esports. A double kill for JackeyLove as these kills are donated to him so consistently. Flashes over the wall. He knows a dead body when he sees it, and G2 out of this game 1.
Creme was just the starter. The main dish of 369 had yet to arrive, and my goodness, did it blow G2 away in game 1.
G2 sent reeling TES. The dominance from Swiss was not a one-time thing. G2 sent back to the drawing board as TES run a victory lap around Summoner's Rift.
And Shanghai is popping off with that victory. Very dominant from TES.
I mean, from start to finish, nothing but control from the side of Top Esports. On this Xin Zhao, we really didn't see SkewMond have many opportunities to find ganks, but really just the individual lanes from Top Esports really got the better of G2 here in game 1.
And this is what we were thinking. Will G2 be able to stall and keep up with TES in the early game?
The answer in game 1 was no. We'll have to see how they adapt as we send it back over to the analyst desk.